My question is nikah compulsory in Islam?
Sister has a question that is nikah compulsory in Islam? Though normally in the nikah khutbah we say that nikah is sunnah of the Prophet. But since the commandment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah Nisa, chapter 4, number 3, that marry women of your choice. So based on this, and our beloved Prophet Muhammad said, that anyone who does not marry is not of me. So according to me, nikah is compulsory. Though there are many scholars, or most of the scholars, who say that nikah is a sunnat-e-muaqqada, a very important sunnah, but I feel that nikah is a fard, unless you have a very valid reason where the fard can be avoided. Otherwise, generally, like how pork is haram, but if you're dying of hunger and pork is the only thing that can save you, for that time it becomes permissible. So according to me, I feel nikah under normal circumstances is a fard, and it's the duty of every man or a woman to get married. And our beloved Prophet Muhammad said, it's hadith mentioned in Sahih Bukhari, volume number 7, in the book of Nikah, chapter number 3, hadith number 4. Our beloved Prophet said, O young people, whoever has the means to get married should get married. That means it's a commandment of the Prophet. So based on this hadith and the other hadith that whoever does not marry is not of me, based on this hadith I consider that nikah to be a fard. It is a fard on every man and woman. Hope that answers the question. Any other sister?
What is the Islamic criteria for selection of a husband or a wife?
As far as the criteria for selection of the husband and wife, the best answer I can give is the hadith of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, mentioned in Sahih Bukhari, volume number 7, in the book of Nikah, hadith number 5090, where our beloved Prophet said that when a person chooses a life partner, the person looks for 4 things. He looks for beauty, wealth, nobility, and virtue. And amongst these, the best is virtue. So normal human beings, when they select a life partner, whether a boy selects a girl to be a wife, or a girl selects a boy to be a husband, normally a person looks for 4 things. One is beauty, second is wealth, third is nobility, and fourth is virtue. And amongst them, the most important, the Prophet said, is virtue. That means if a person seeks a beautiful wife, or a girl seeks a handsome husband, so it's permissible. It's not haram. Similarly, if a lady seeks a very rich husband, or a boy seeks a very rich lady in marriage, it's permissible. Similarly, if a person seeks for a family to be married in a noble family, a boy looking after a noble girl from a noble family, and a girl is looking for a boy who belongs to a noble family, it's permissible. But amongst all these, the last one, that is virtue, is the most important. A virtuous husband or wife, a virtuous spouse is the most important out of all these 4 criteria. That means if you have to compromise in any of these 4 criteria, you can compromise on the first 3 but not the last. If you can get a spouse who has all the 4 criteria, that is sone pe sohaga. It is the best. If you get a boy who's handsome, who's wealthy, belongs to a noble family, and very virtuous, alhamdulillah, go for it, don't lose him. Similarly, if a boy gets a very beautiful girl, and a very wealthy girl, belongs to a noble family, and very virtuous, alhamdulillah. But these things are normally very rare. It's like in a fairy tale, you're waiting for the Prince Charming, or the Princess Charming. So don't be in a world where, if I want, unless I don't get, I'll not marry. So the time will never come. If you can get someone, it's possible, but it's not probable. The possibility is there, but the probability is very negligible. So if you have to compromise in the criteria, you can surely compromise in the first 3. But see to it that you don't compromise in the last criteria, that is virtue. Hope that answers the question, sister. Can we have the next question, please?
What procedure can be followed in selecting an Islamic life partner?
Sister has a question that what procedure can be followed in selecting a life partner. The procedure, as was mentioned in the earlier question, that what are the criteria for selecting a life partner? As I said, that it is beauty, it is wealth, nobility, and virtue. On these 4 basic criteria, you have to try and select a life partner. The procedure can be that first you yourself to be convinced that the partner that you want to marry should be virtuous, and convince yourself first that for me virtue is more important than beauty or wealth or nobility. You get convinced, and then convey the message to your parents first. Convey the message to your parents, because the parents may have a different view. They may think, okay, I want a very handsome boy and I want my girl to get married to a very wealthy boy. So first you get convinced first on the Quran and Sahih Hadith, and then convey that message to your parents and tell that, because they will be the closest to you who would be looking for a match for you. So convey that message so that it doesn't happen that they decide that this boy is good and he may not fit your criteria. So first convince your criteria that you have to your parents and convey the message to them so that you and them are in the same wavelength. It should not be that their requirement is different, yours is different. And you should not feel shy about it. Finally, their parents, so convey it to them. And then you can convey that to the relatives and to your close friends that I'm looking for a boy who's virtuous, who's Islamic, and let the message pass on amongst your close relatives and your close friends. First is the parents, then your relatives and friends, and the third would be you can approach any Islamic organizations who you know who can help you find a match. Since you're not looking for someone who's wealthy, if you're looking for someone wealthy, then you have to go to the billionaire club, There's a millionaire club and a billionaire club. So if your criteria is wealth, then you have to go to the billionaire club and try and find one. If your criteria is handsome, or for the boy it's beautiful, then you have to go to the beauty contest and see who you want. Because the basic criteria is Islamic, so go to Islamic organizations. And you can give your resume. See to that your resume is also on the same line, giving your details, the basic details, height, complexion, etc. and your likes and dislikes. And that you can mention, you like to have a husband who's virtuous, etc. And see to it you can collect resume from Islamic organization, or if you know of any marriage bureau which is based on Islamic guidelines, that would be the best. That approach a marriage bureau which is based on Islamic guidelines. Unfortunately, majority of the so-called Muslim marriage bureaus also are more of cultural based rather than the criteria being Islamic. You know of many marriage bureaus run by non-Muslims, many marriage bureaus run by Muslims, but the criteria may not be based on Quran and Sunnah. Yet you can give your biodata there, it's no harm, but preferable to try and select a marriage bureau whose criteria of selection is based on Quran and Sahih Hadith. The first level is the parents, then your relatives, friends, the Islamic organizations. Furthermore, it can be possible that you can let the people know about your selection in Islamic magazines, maybe local, maybe international Islamic magazines. Many of the Islamic magazines have a section on marriage, wanted brides, wanted bridegrooms. You can even give in general papers like Times of India, no problem. You may never know, it may click. You can even use the internet, but using the internet you have to be careful. Many times it leads to deviation. So can use, but with the purview of the Islamic Sharia. And you yourself should prepare your own resume and give the criteria that you want in your resume, that I would prefer a husband who is Islamic, is virtuous, etc. If a boy is writing, okay, I want a girl who is virtuous, you can't say beauty is the criteria but not of ultimate importance, may not be the most important. You can write, not that you cannot write if you want a beautiful girl. So in this way you make a resume, and this will help you in trying to find a right life partner. And then once, if you go for an interview, the list of questions already were discussed. The list of questions that you can ask. But see to it that when you conduct a preliminary round where you're going to select a life partner, see to it that it is Islamically done. That don't go and meet around to go and meet, maybe in a garden, or I'd like to meet you in a movie theater in the last row. See that done Islamically. Either you call the boy to your house or you go to the boy's house, no problem. But see to it that there's a mahram. So the girl should either have the father or the brother with her, and the boy should maybe have a mother or sister. So in the company of a mahram, and when questions are asked, if a mahram is there, it is preferable. I feel there is no problem in having a mahram if you're asking questions which are based on Quran and Sunnah. If you're asking questions otherwise, there may be problems. Or if you think it's a requirement that no, there may be certain personal question I don't know anyone else to know, which I don't think so it arises, then see to it that you speak in a hall which has doors which are open, and see to it that the distance between the two opposite sex is far enough, Islamic distance is maintained, and this way conducted, and then if it fits your criteria, then inshallah you can go ahead judging the pros and cons. Hope that answers the question, sister.